Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Mobiography Awards Live Show. I'm joined on stage here by Brendan. Hey, Brendan.
Hey, everybody. Great to see you all. Hope you're well.
Andy is not able to join us this week. He's actually away sunning himself somewhere. I hope having a good break because it's very well deserved. He's been working like a beaver for the last 2 months on all of this, so he deserves a break. So it's just the two of us joining you today, but we have a great show lined up for you. We're not going to do what we've done every other week so far, which is do a quick bit about who we are to talk about the award show, because we kind of feel at this stage you might possibly know. And if you don't, the two first shows are actually already available on the Mobiography channel. You can always go back and watch them. Well worth a watch. We did talk to Brendan about his photographic style and some of his tips and techniques in the first edition, and then we talked to Renzo Grande in the last show about the 24-hour project and his photographic inspiration as well. Well worth checking out, and we'll be talking about the 24-hour project again a little bit later on in the show, but we have an amazing guest lined up this week, and I'm going to hand over to Brendan to take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Today's show, I'm really excited to have what I think is one of the very, very best photographers around at the moment, who is one of our judges, Mark Fearnley, who is coming to join us today. Mark is, I think, a photographer at the top of his game, and what I love about Mark is that he mixes it up. He's like a fantastic street photographer. He does most wonderful creative puddle shots, double exposures. He's got selfies that should be album covers, and that when it comes to lines, patterns, and shapes, I think he is probably the best that is out there shooting in that style of photography at the moment. In today's interview with Mark, there's going to be a few wow moments, and you're going to discover why your shoe is the must-have accessory for photography nowadays. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Mark. Mark, hi, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm absolutely delighted to have you with us.
Hi, Brendan. Thanks. And thanks for having me on, guys. You know, I've been following you for a long time, but so yeah, thanks for having me on.
And you're joining us from London. I'm here in Cork.
Just
and
outside
it's great.
London. Yes, yeah. Yes, mate.
Brilliant. So I'm going to get the presentation up. So very well, I'm doing this, and we're going to be here. Just switch and back, and we have a little bit of tech, and we're off and running. So Mark, again, we're going to show people your style of photography. We're going to learn about your technique, your approach to the work that you do, and I'm sure the people that are tuning in are going to learn so much that they get from this. So we're starting off with a series of images, and you're going to talk about how you work the scene.
Cool, yeah. Working the scene. Working the scene is it's a really big part of my approach and my workshops, really. So with my workshops, I normally have lots of stop-off points, and then I show my participants a series of images from that location, that scene, and then I get them to think differently to how they normally would approach a scene. So whether that's changing your point of view, change your way of thinking outside the box, definitely thinking more creatively. So I mean, most people will approach a scene and they'll just take a shot at a scene and they'll just walk off. That's not really my approach. What I like to do is I like to like I say, like work the scene.
We can see these photographs here. They're all from like your workshops are in London, which is like a fantastic location. Everybody wants great street photography opportunities there. And this is the South Bank in London. These series of images.
So if you go to the very first one, Brendan.
Yeah.
So when I say working the scene, so these are all taken underneath Blackfriars Bridge. So it's always a good stop-off point for my workshops because you can learn so much underneath this bridge. It's got everything. It's got leading lines, got repetition, it's silhouettes like that. I mean, even all these images here are shot on my iPhone. So I mean, even this image here, if you took this to a camera club, they'd say, delete it. Why is that? It's blown highlights. But you know what? I like the blown highlights because it makes the figure stand out more. Because behind her, where she's standing there, there's all skyscrapers and some cathedral and that. And the busyness of that behind, in front of her would take the image away from her. So I like it with blown highlights. But so this is the first image I'm going to show you, like I'm working the scene. So this shot here was just taken on the iPhone, just standing up, handheld. I see the lady walk past. It's on a walkway underneath Blackfriars Bridge. So I just took the shot because I like the lines, I like the curves of the understructure of the bridge and the rivets and stuff. But by working the scene underneath this bridge, how much you can change by just changing your perspective on the change the look of your images. So the second shot, if you go to the second shot, Brendan, all I've done is just put my camera to the floor. So if you go back to the first one quickly and look at this one, look at the difference in the perspective just from that to dropping the camera on the floor. Totally different. But again, you know, I've missed focus on the phone. It's focusing just a foot or so in front of me. But I quite like it in the blurred way because it's giving it quite an artistic-y look. It's almost like a pencil drawing, but again, leading lines leading into her. So I think for that image, I kept it because, you know, even though it's out of focus, but you know yourself, Brendan, with street photography, there are no rules. You know, you learn all the rules and then you break them all. So blurred images, you know, blown highlights, rule of thirds. Look at that rule of thirds. That doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. There's no rules in street photography. So on this third image, all I've done is I've stood back up and I've just put the camera on the wall. And I see this lady walking past with a little boy, and like little boys do, he jumped up on the wall, started walking along, and I've just put the camera on the floor on the wall, and with the leading line going straight to him. I got the shot. So I haven't moved any. Just literally moved one step to my left, and I thought to myself, well, what would it look like if I moved one step to my right? So if you go to the next image,
fantastic.
Basically put the camera on the railing that's to my right. So 4 images there that look completely different to each other, and all I've just moved one step. So working the scene. So on the next image, all I've done is I've stepped off of this walkway. So that's the walkway there. I've stepped back. There's the light source. I knew that anybody into that light source would be a silhouette. So I took a few shots of this couple walking by. But again, you know, working the scene, getting something different. And then on the next image, all I've done is turn to my right. So there's the walkway on my left. Again, a completely different shot. Then I had the advantage of it raining, so you've got a bit of reflection there. Pardon me. What I'm doing now is I'm really working the scene. I haven't just took one shot and walked off. And then on this next image, I've just walked 4 or 5 feet in front of myself. And now these are bike rails where you just, you know, you chain your bike up. And I've tried to sort of like, these aren't amazing shots. I'm not saying they're amazing shots, but I'm just working the scene. So now I'm framing through the bike rails. And then on this next shot, all I've done is turn to my left and then use the ribs of the architecture. So now I've got a series of 7 images from working this scene.
Yeah, I think for me, Mark, I think it's a fantastic, you know, demonstration of when you come to a scene which is, you know, kind of visually rich, and that you're not like what initially gets your attention to, you know, to make a photograph, that you're not satisfied with that. You get curious, and because you're curious, you change your perspective. You're looking for new opportunities, and I think it's a great lesson in terms of, you know, to move away from a single shot and trying to see how things can be seen and how to see them from different perspectives, different angles, and that you get the rewards.
Exactly that, Brendan. So you've got nothing to lose, have you? By dropping your camera to the floor and shooting underneath, or subframing, shooting through them railings, or whatever, you've got nothing to lose, you know. And I think for a creative photographer, like I'm a painter artist by my trade, by mixing it around and putting cameras and changing your perspective and looking at different angles. There's so many more possibilities. I love shooting over photograph scenes. So I might go to a staircase where there's been thousands of photos shot of it. But I think you can always find something different, Brendan. If you just change your way of thinking, just change your approach. Most people take a picture of a staircase and they hold it head height and just take the picture and move on. No, why don't you just put the camera on the floor, move your perspective, or point your camera into, say, a glass window and get reflection of it, or subframe it through that little bar there. Just mix it around and just.
Yeah. And I think as well, what people can take away from this, Mark, is that, very often people would think that, that if I lived in London, I'd get fantastic photographs. But people will have locations like this and, in small towns and small cities. And, that it is just getting out there and trying to, really work the scene and have different and angles, and you'll be surprised what you get.
You know what, Brendan? You don't need to be in London to take good shots, because there's a saying that's always in the back of my head when I'm going out and I'm in the zone and I'm shooting and stuff. I remember someone saying to me, "What makes a good photographer? What makes a good photo and a good photographer?" Well, I always think a good photographer will take an interesting picture in a boring place. You know, you don't have to have. And on my workshops, I do take the workshop groups to areas where everyone says to me, "There's no pictures here, Mark. There's nothing to take pictures of here. This is rubbish." And then I show them some pictures on my camera, and they go, "Oh my God, how did you get that?" Well, I shot it in through the window and got a reflection of this and that. And so you don't. I don't think the location is really, really massively important. I think seeing and then thinking creatively is the key for me.
Yeah, it's the vision and the curiosity, I think, definitely.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the photographs here, which have, makes me think about, the three Fs, that I was reading in Matt Stewart's book, Think Like a Street Photographer. And he talks about fishing, he talks about finding, and then I think the next one is very, very much what he's describing. The next one is fuck. Pardon my French for anybody here, but what this is that when you come across a scene, Mark, and tell us about this one.
So this was taken in Great Yarmouth. So me and the wife grabbed an ice cream, and we turned around, and she started walking towards the seafront, and I was walking straight on. She was about 50 feet away, and I turned, and the first thing I saw was that sign. And I looked at it, and I thought, ice cream thieves, watch out for your ice cream, blah, blah, blah. And then if you go back, I then sort of looked straight up, and I saw the seagull exactly opposite.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Fucking hell, it's got a mask on, the same as the picture of the... No way, it actually looks like the picture of the... No way. And I had an ice cream in one hand, and I had my Ricoh GR3 in my pocket, and I thought, that bird's going to fly off before I get that. It's going. This is just going to be a memory and something I've told people in the future, and it will never come real. And but luckily, I've got the GR3 out and took quite a few shots of it. It's as though the bloody thing was posing. You know what I mean? It's like it was aligned with it. If you look up and down, it is the bird. It's the bird in the picture.
Ah, it's fabulous. Yeah. And your ice cream, you managed to get your ice cream as well. He didn't kind of dive in.
Yeah. But it's just amazing juxtaposition, isn't it? It's just like it's one of those scenes that you just wouldn't imagine happening, with it dead in line like it is, and
yeah. But I think that it's a great scene that you happen upon. But I think that you had the readiness, to get the camera out and react. I think fantastic. I absolutely love that photo. I think it's one of the best.
Photo for me. It's not really my style, as my sort of style, but it's just one of those moments that you got to take a picture. Something like that happens in front of you, got to take that picture.
Oh yeah, definitely so. Great stuff. Now we're moving on, and another, like what I was saying at the lead-in, what I love about your photography is that you've got so many different styles and you excel at all of them. And these series of photographs here that you're using like a natural filter, you're using subframing and shooting through windows. Tell us about these, Mark.
So I love shooting through windows, whether it's windows that have got it's just the textures, and whether it's rain or condensation, it just adds so much mystery and mood, I think, to these type of, even if it's like that's really glass. But I just think they add so much. You can get so creative. So I mean, on the first one, if you go back to the first one very briefly, this was shot in this was shot in Somerset House. So on this picture here, it's a kitchen, and I could see people, blurred behind the glass, and I thought, well, they kept coming forward. I think they were washing up. I think this guy here was washing up. So I sat away and got some pictures. Oh yeah, that's really good, really mysterious. But then I thought afterwards, there's more to this image, because the two wine glass. This was taken 9 o'clock in the morning. Those two wine, they've only been opened a few minutes. Those two wine glasses and an ice bucket on the shelf there. So there's a bit of a story there as well. So that's obviously from the night before. So whether a couple celebrating or or whatever, there's a little bit of a story in that image, as well as the mystery. But I shot it in color, but I think I preferred it, converting into black and white. I think it add a bit more mood to the image.
Yeah, a lot of your photographs are in black and white. Why do you make choices like that? What is it about black and white over color for you, or vice versa?
I can only see an image in black and white. When I look for an image, because I can sort of visualize like the image in black and white, and I think more my photography being in black and white is because I do like to add a lot of mystery and mood to my work. And, I think it adds it. it adds a lot to it. But if you go to the second image,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these are all in colour now. So this was just a bus window, but I like the connection that the lady made with me. And she'd obviously just wiped the window, like she's obviously seen me standing there, and she'd wiped the window a few seconds before, as you can see the white mark there, and she looked at me. But I like the condensation. Yeah, the bottom half of her face is completely blurred, and the person sitting behind her. I thought it made
gives a lot of painterly feel, I find, with it. How do you find, being in a street scene like this, and raising the camera or iPhone as it might be, and taking a photograph? Yeah. What would you say to people who think, how can I do that? I wouldn't be confident enough to do it.
Right. I think for my approach, because I mostly shoot solitude, and most of my figures are dwarfed by architecture and stuff like that. But I think for these bus windows, getting in close like I have here. There's a bit of a protection because there's something between you. There's a glass. So that lady was on a bus. That woman there's on a bus, or they're in a restaurant or something. So it's not so you can hear if they were to give you any abuse anyway. But it's all to do with body language as well, So if your body language is positive, and you give a little smile afterwards, it's when you try and look a little bit sneaky. I think when you look like you're doing something wrong, then I think it can give negativity. But if you stay positive. That's my approach. But
I definitely saw that. What you communicate is received. But then if you're kind of doing something, kind of enacting something,
and you can visualize scenes before they happen. So if you go to the image where I think it's the one with the reedy glass with the bright orange neon.
This one,
I think back one. I know. Now one more back.
Oh, yeah. This was
this was a burger joint. This was just a burger house. So I saw this person walk in with his hat, and they'd obviously gone and got something to eat. But there's only one door in. There's not another exit. So when they walked in, I visualised my scene before it even happened. So I got my camera, I got my exposure right, and I knew that they had to come back and walk back out that door.
Fantastic.
So I was ready, and I knew that they couldn't see me because that thick reedy glass. So I just composed my shot, got ready. They went and got the burger. They were in there a couple of minutes, and as they returned, as they started approaching the door, I just took my shots there and then. So for me, I already knew that picture was going to happen. But this picture, I think it lended itself to colour because all the neon lights. It's shot in Cambridge in a burger place, but I think it lended itself to colour.
Yeah, and I think again the sense of mystery that comes from it, I think is fantastic with the hat and the hand coming across.
Because I always think what makes interesting pictures are interesting people or interesting things or artifact, whatever's in your picture. So this person all in black with a hat on, that was my target. That was the person I was waiting to get that shot for. But if you go to the next image, I think it's the one in my back garden. That one, So now this a garden party just shot on my phone. I had a party in my back garden. This is my daughter's, my sister's daughter. And I was walking towards my back door, and as she was walking out from my garden to my back door, she saw me and connected, and she pointed to me, and I just took a load of pictures from my iPhone, just knelt down, took some pictures from my iPhone. But I really liked it because, like, the fingers, I don't know how the finger got in focus, and the rest of it's all blurred, but the abstractness of it and the colours, the sort of like pastel colours.
Yeah. I love the connection with the finger, and I think just a little takeaway point for people as well, Mark. You mentioned there that you knelt down, you changed your perspective to get on a level with her. I think people miss that.
So I was head height with it.
Yeah, fabulous. One of my favorites of the Through Windows is this one. I think this is just an absolutely awesome image.
Thanks, mate. So that was taken in Piccadilly Circus. So again, from sort of like October till March, you get the condensation on the bus windows because it's colder. So you get then you get like the condensation and the drips and everything like that. But I saw the lady on the bus, and she looked like she was tired. There was a story there as well, wasn't there? But she looks like she's holding a hand like she's had a long day or something like that. So again, I like the condensation. There's a little bit of textures, and you can see a little bit where focus has hit her face. Where I quite like that as a shot.
Yeah. I think the other things, looking at them as a series there, I think that they all have gesture in them, which adds a lot to the storytelling aspect. If you look at the photographs, girl with connection, the man with the hand going across his coat before he enters, and this one here with the
Yes.
you know,
That
cool.
picture there is the local coffee shop. So I saw him, and we did make a connection. But then I thought, I don't want to take a picture of him looking at me. I wanted to take a picture of him just getting his cup of tea up. So I had to wait, just like, it was quite painful to wait there like 15 seconds for him to grab his cup of tea and take it up to his hand. But you've got that safety of the glass, you know. I mean, the worst he could do is just point at me. He's not going to shout at me to fuck off in the middle of that cafe, is he? So like, there's a bit of a security between you and that and the person behind the glass.
Yeah. Would you show people the photograph? Like, if he came out from the cafe, would you show him the photograph?
People ask me this a lot. Yes, I would. I would show the person. And do you know, even if he said to me, "I want the people," I would never do a standoff. Like when I do my workshops, I always say to people, you know, if you get a confrontation, your best bet is just to say, like, yeah, okay, I'll delete the image. There's no point in standing there arguing, because all it's going to do is it's just going to make the situation worse. So if he was to say delete that image, blah, 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 but a lot of the time when I show people the image, they say, "Oh wow, that's really cool," yeah, and
yeah, it's true. Yeah, they respond well to it, and I think, like, definitely if somebody wants to delete an image, for me, that, you know, when that happens, the moment is gone. There's no emotional attachment, positive emotional attachment to the image, so just delete it and move on, I think.
Exactly, mate.
Yeah. So we're moving on from these, and I think now we're going to have kind of some wow moments. We maybe say nothing at all, and I'll just show the video, Mark, and people can see your process, which I think is just fantastic.
This is my approach. So this is how I work. So I've seen the puddle, turn my camera upside down, and then that's what you get with the puddle shot. You know, if that was my camera now taking pictures, that's what you get.
I think it's the simplicity in it. I think is just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. So this was taken on a one-to-one workshop with a guy, and I said there'd be a good shot in that puddle. Looking at me and say, like, "What the hell do you mean there'd be a good shot in that puddle?" And this one was in Cambridge, and I could see the architecture, and I knew it was the puddle shot.
Fantastic. And so, like, puddles, like, I think again, it's like that you're you know, they talk about photographers and art and that you can, you know, you can copy somebody's style, but you can't copy somebody's vision. And I think, you know, what you're describing there, that you see these photographs that other people miss. And I think that, you know,
I always think that the best photos you can take, you have to look really ridiculous taking them. So, like, whether it's you putting your camera and pointing, when you're down low and you're pointing your camera into a puddle, and the people are walking towards you and looking at you, they're thinking, "Are you insane?" You know, it's like, what the hell are you doing? And then it's not until you show them the photo and they go, "Wow!" Then the next minute they get their phone out, they're in the puddle with you. So, like, this shot here, for example. So this is what I see and everybody sees these shots. Everybody that goes out when it's just rained will see a shot like this, just walking down the street. It's just a puddle, you know. But it's not until you look at the scene like that, and then if you show the picture of me flipped it, look how different that looks now. So there's a strong light source at the bottom, silhouette, bit of mystery, but look at the textures and the bricks on the left-hand side and the slabs on the right-hand side, and you've got the architecture, and it's just, I just think it makes not a brilliant shot, but I think it shows a bit of creativity just by looking into puddles.
I definitely saw it. I think, you know, hearing you talk about, you know, getting excited about the texture of paving stones and bricks and that and architectures, I think is brilliant, fabulous. But here are some other ones. We'll want to talk about these. Yeah.
So this one's just a wet pavement, like you see it everywhere, just a wet pavement. If you can visualize that scene, I took it, you know, reverse to that, and I've just flipped it. But it's almost an artistic impressionist shot. It almost looks like an oil painting, doesn't it, Brendan? It almost looks like a
And again, it's like that, you know, like it's working the scene as well, you know, and coming across kind of like ordinary encounters. It rains for, like, here in Ireland, it's always raining for us, that there are photo opportunities, but you need to just train your eye.
Exactly. Well, what it is, if I can give a little tip to everybody, so if you do want to take photos in puddles, if you look at all of these puddle shots, you do need a strong light source. Now, where I've angled myself there and positioned myself, if I was 2 steps to my left or right, that person wouldn't be central, and there'd be even the buildings on the left or the buildings on the right. So you do need to walk around the puddle and find your light source and find where your subject's going to enter or leave or whatever, because you need that. Like if that person was 3 feet to their right, if I was standing to my left a bit more, it wouldn't work. You know, you need the light source.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's like by taking, numerous images, and to learn as you're taking the images, get the feedback from looking at each one and kind of crafting it. I think that is the process. This one?
So this one was taken in Goa in India, and I saw loads of cyclists on the beach in Goa, but the sand is really compact, and you've got loads of cyclists going up and down the beach, which you don't normally see in the UK, So that was quite impressive just to see that. But I see this guy cycling, and then on my iPhone shots, these all are. I took the shot of him with my iPhone, but then when I flipped it, I thought, oh, the little shells in the sand, which are glinting off the sun. When I turned it upside down and put it into black and white, I thought, oh, wow, it looks like a starry night. So I quite liked it flipped like that. For that sort of look, it looks like he's cycling into the night, doesn't he? Into the night sky.
Yeah. And I love hearing the excitement in your voice that when you describe about when you've taken the shot and then you see it and you're thinking, bloody hell, look at that! Look at what the shells do is like a starry night. It's a great experience, isn't it, when the shots come together like that for you?
Cool, yeah, man.
And beautiful.
And this lady was waiting in a bus stop, and again I saw it in the puddle. Look at the light source again, like I've been saying. So the clouds are just coming over. It was just finishing off raining. But for this image, what made it for me as a keeper was the raindrops in the water. So you can just see like little ringlets of the raindrops. If it hadn't got that, I probably wouldn't have kept it. But again, I like the sort of framing of it because of the framing of the puddle. But yeah, I like the textures. It's full of textures, that image.
I think we're in the midst of summer here now, but I think people after this will be longing for kind of, rainy weather to be able to get out and try some of these. And this one, this is brilliant. Tell us about this one.
This is like this is more luck than judgment. I know they say you make your own luck, but this image. I mean, and a lot of people have said to me recently, "Oh, that's a staged image." And I thought, staged image? Well, fucking hell, I wouldn't have had a staged image with a lamppost sticking out of his back. I'd have moved to the left. If it was a staged image and I've got my mate walking past, I'd have composed it so that lamppost wasn't sticking out of his back. But yeah, it just lined up perfectly. Perfectly. Yeah. That's one of those images where you go, oh God, that is luck, isn't it? Yeah, it's like a bit of luck and a bit of vision mixed into one on that. Yeah,
just talk a little bit about the vision to see it, because it is it's kind of a fraction of a second where this is happening, like your anticipation. You've spoken about anticipation.
Yeah. So I saw the puddle, but I composed it so that I got the. So there was a lot of. This is in Bedford. So there was a lot of foot traffic walking by. Yeah, there's groups of people, single people. But I composed it with the cycle first. So I had the bicycle in the picture, and then I was just waiting for people to see if they could, marry up to the cycle. But most people weren't. I was probably there about 15-20 minutes to get this shot, maybe even longer. But yeah, then I saw this guy approaching. I was just like click, 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 and luckily I got it with just his right hand raised. It looked like he almost looks like he's sort of like pushing the cycle because he's got his hand on the handlebars, and his other hand looks like he's on the frame. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think again, like for people who are watching this, when we hear that you spent 15 to 20 minutes to get the shot, I think is a takeaway point that that there's a craft in this, there's patience in it, and that very often you're not going to get the shot that you want, but when you do, it's the rewards are brilliant. Put in the work.
Yeah, so for patience from my side, because I class myself as a fine art street photographer, and I say that in loose terms because nowadays, a lot of people, they can't wait to put you in boxes and put labels on you and stuff like that. So I class myself as a fine art approach. So with that style is classed as fishing in the street photography world. So obviously, you've got your hunters and your fishers. So a hunter will, for people who don't know, will just walk aimlessly around the streets and they'll take the shot, but they'll be continuously walking. My approach is fishing. So I don't look for people. I look for scenes. So here I found the scene. I waited for the person. So the human element has to come into my image. So with that comes, you have to be patient. So I've waited 2 hours for a shot before, you know. So standing somewhere in one place for 2 hours, you know, it's a long time. A lot of people can't handle hanging around 10, 15 minutes before they want to move on because they're bored. But if I see a scene, I'm prepared to hang on there, and I'll fish that scene and wait for that human element to come into my picture.
Yeah. What I say very often is that photography is as much about what you don't see as what you do see. And like what you're describing there, that you're attracted by the scene, and in your mind's eye, you know that a human element comes into this, will fill the scene.
I class that you're visualizing the scene before it happens. So here, I saw the scene, I saw the bike, and I just visualized it for somebody to walk and get into that picture like that. That just made my day, because I thought to myself, you know, I could have been there. I could come back to that scene every day and not get that shot, but I got lucky on that shot, and with the right timing, the right person. It's just a shame that, for me, I don't know. It's just a lamppost at the back of the head that annoys me about it.
You're being too critical. It's a fantastic shot, Mark. Brilliant. And now we're moving on, and here again, you're pushing it. You know that you're trying to be more and more creative and double exposures. Talk us through.
This was taken in Tokyo on Shibuya Station. You're familiar with Shibuya Station, a very busy station in Tokyo, and it's a double exposure in a Fuji X100S, which I had at that time. So I was just messing around with double exposures. So this was in camera. So the first shot I took was the guy was on the platform. So I first of all took the picture of the guy on the platform, and I knew, because when you shoot double exposure on the Fuji, it gives you a ghost image of the second image. So I knew when I got the first image, he had a black jacket on. So I knew that I could, with a light source, I could place something in the middle of his jacket, and that's how I work with my double exposures. So it's like having sort of like a template of as a first image to go. So then the second image, that train that he was getting on stopped, that's in front of him, and then I walked to the window and I saw that guy there sitting there, and I just composed it and lined it up with the double exposure, and took the second image of him sitting on the train. And I like the way that it's sort of lined up, because the legs match near enough both people. So it's quite worked well.
And I love the train, swooshing past in the background to give a sense of speed with it. And this one, we're back in Blackfriars Bridge, is it?
Yeah. So I took this shot. So I think the thing is with street photography or fine art, be honest about your approach and about what you get on your street. So this is out of camera double exposure. So this we're both taken again on the Blackfriars Bridge, which I started off with earlier on. So the first image was taken of the guy standing there, the main image, and then again I used his back as the template, but it didn't work. I was taking a second shot, it wasn't working. So I did do this. This image it's been done out of camera, so I put them together in an app. So I basically took both images under the bridge, but used both images and put them on top of each other in an app.
Is Snapseed you used, Mark, for this one?
It's Snapseed, yeah, double exposure in Snapseed.
And this one here, I think, tell me about the process you went through with this one. I think it's a beautiful, tender photograph.
This was taken in Cambridge, and the elderly gentleman, he saw I had my camera with me, and he was a camera enthusiast, and he used to shoot on film and stuff. And I think because he saw my Fuji, I think he thought it was a film camera. So he said, "What was that?" And we got talking, and I said, "Do you know what? I'd love to take a portrait." So I took a portrait picture of him, the very first picture there, of his face. And then as he walked off, I took the second shot as we finished talking and walked off. But again, they didn't marry well on the double exposure, which I was trying to do. So because I had an individual picture of it as a portrait and of him walking off, again, I just laid them on top of each other in an app on Snapseed.
And I think it works so well. And tell me, like with this, the decision to convert to black and white, had you looked at it in color, and or did you know from the outset it's going to be black and white?
Yes, I shot both in color, but I just think for the black and white, I think for this type of image, because it's an alleyway and it's almost got like an old an old look about it, and the elderly gentleman, and I just think it just leaded itself for black and white.
Yeah. I definitely. I think, again, those double exposures, I think they're so creative. They work so well. Now we're getting on to the rock and roll star. I think that with the selfies, I think that your selfies are an art form, Mark. And I think
I'll just pose up.
yeah, but talk to me about why you put yourself in the photographs like this. Like, there's a reason.
So, like, a lot of the times we're all used to it, and probably yourself when you walk around, you find because I look for scenes and not people. I find a scene and then I could wait there for ages and no one comes through the scene, and it's so frustrating because you could be there for like as long as we're going to be there and no one walks into it. So what I decided to do is fill empty scenes and fill the empty scenes with myself. So I'll just use myself in the images. Now, I don't use a tripod, right? I use my phone. It's all done on my phone or my Ricoh GR3, which is a really small camera.
Yeah.
So I bought a attachment called a Gorilla Pod, and I don't know if anybody knows about the Gorilla Pod, but it attaches to your phone or your camera, and it's got like bendy arms. And you can wrap that around things. I mean, I've wrapped it around everything. You wrap it around lampposts. You can wrap it around branches, light fittings. You can basically anything that's sticking out of anywhere. You can just wrap that round and just put your camera on self-time and take a shot. And that's how I've done all these. So that one there was done around a light fitting. There was a light fitting on the wall, and I wrapped it around the light fitting. This was on an iPhone, so. You got to remember, iPhone has a 10-second timer. So I had to fucking run up them steps like nothing. A few times I'd fallen up the steps because the timing of it just never works out. So I probably took 20, 25 takes on this picture because like the first one would be me fleeting up the stairs, and the second one I'll be falling on top of the stairs. The third one, I'm not. It's just the timing of it, And then you finally get it at the end. If you persevere with it, you'll get like that shot.
I think it's so funny to think, that in a shot that you have here, like that you look so smart and sophisticated and elegant, that there's probably another shot somewhere where you're kind of stumbling up the stairs and up the floor.
Shot in my tight suit and my trilby hat, and the shot before that, my hat's flown across the floor, and I'm laying on those fucking stairs there, like all.
Brilliant. And with this one here, there's something to do with a shoe, I think, is there?
Okay, so somebody said to me, probably about a year ago, and said, "What are you using, Mark, for like yourself, your selfies now?" So I use a Gorilla Pod. He went, "Yeah, your Gorilla Pods are good," but he said, "What about if you're in an area where you can't attach the Gorilla Pod arms around anything? You got nothing to attach it to?" And I said, "Yeah, that is hard. I can never do them." And he said, "I suggest you use your shoe." I do. And use your shoe, and he's like, "Well, when you put your shoe on the floor, you can put your phone inside your shoe and balance it forward and backwards." He said it's a brilliant little case for your shoe, and I thought that is amazing. That's amazing. So now I started using my shoe. But mind you, a few weeks ago, I was in a shopping centre and it had a glass roof, and there was these beams of light coming down this shopping centre wall. And again, it was a scene where no one walks against this wall, so. One of those frustrating moments where I thought, okay, I'm going to use myself in this image. So I'm going to include myself. So I took my shoe because there was nothing to wrap the Gorilla Pod round. I was in the shopping centre. So I thought I'll just put my shoe in the middle of the shopping centre, 15, 20 feet away. I put my phone in it, put the self timer on it, timed it, aimed it at myself, got it roughly composed, ran over to the wall with all these beams of light, stood there and posed a sec. But then I looked at my shoe, and then there's something distracted me to my left, and I looked to the left. There's all these people just looking at me. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, how embarrassing, It's like,
Fantastic.
It's like I said, sometimes you have to look really, really silly or stupid taking shots.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, we were saying that, people are probably hoping that it's going to rain to get out to get some puddle shots. I think we probably also will have some people who, will use the shoe as the tripod and probably end up with one very wet foot in trying to get shots.
That's good.
This one here is one of my favorites of the selfies.
Okay, yeah. So this I managed to wrap it. I think there was something on the left hand side here that I managed to put my phone on and put it on the timer. But yeah, I like the colours in this. I decided to keep this in colour because I did like the red and the blue. I think it's a good little mix and marry together and colours. But I did actually darken my face and the hat a little bit because I wanted to look a little bit more mysterious and cross my arms.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. It's a
I
really
think
strong
it
image.
does, and also shooting a lot of these through lockdown when there's nobody about. I mean, I did a lot of workshops when there was lockdown, and some of the best shots I got was through lockdown because I always look for solitude and I look for one single person. So with the lockdown, it did help out a lot of times, but then it had the disadvantages where you just wouldn't get any. So I say to everybody, you know, do self portraits, put yourself in the picture, put it on self timer, because it's still creativity, isn't it? It's still, you're still composing the shot. You're still like that shot there. You have to compose it with the shadows. I've seen the wall, I've seen the lights, I've seen the barbed wire. I think it had quite like a strong image, and the lighting just on one side. So
like that to me is an album cover, Mark. I think that would make a fantastic album cover if you want to kind of change career from a musician and that. I think then it's kind of talk about solitude. It brings us to what I think, that you're top of the game with this. I think the photographs that you shoot with the lines and patterns and shapes and shadows and that, I think they're just absolutely outstanding. Talk to us about these.
So that's something I look for on a daily basis. So I'm always looking for sort of my love for lines and shapes and shadows and repetition and patterns, and I just think like with the pools of light and the repetition, the pools of light, and then I've got the double whammy on that because the guy this was shot in Tokyo, and I always I tried myself try and get as a higher level, because if this was a ground. If I was down on the same level as him, it wouldn't have worked so well. But that higher level, and he looks like he's had a hard day. He's sort of dragging his bag nearly, and the light's hitting him on his shoulder and his head. But I just think that adds a little bit of this image got a little bit more mood, and again, like shape, shadows, repetition. I just love that, and solitude and mood and
and this. Again, like when you come to here, it is like anticipation that like you're attracted to the scene, and then the next element of the jigsaw is like waiting for the human element to come into it.
So for me, that's the scene. Whether I had that lady in it or not, I would just wait at that scene and just wait for a human element. It's just that is everything that I love about for what I love about my photography.
It's beautiful. And bicycles and other things which reoccur a lot in your photographs.
Bicycles. I love shooting bicycles.
And all these images are from Tokyo, am I right?
When I say Tokyo, Tokyo and Yokohama.
Yokohama as well, yeah.
Yeah, which is that well, just outside, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about half an hour's train ride, I think.
Yeah. I think for me, I know a lot of people go on, New York's the place for me. For me, I think this image here. I mean, I think Japan, Tokyo. You shot there loads, Brendan. It's just an amazing place to shoot. But I shot this. I posted this on my Instagram in sort of lockdown times, and I'm getting a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, Mark, that means so much at the moment," because obviously this was shot 2 years before, and it's and with the mask. I know that they wear masks in Tokyo, for a lot of years ago, but the lines actually look like prison bars. So when we were all going through solid, we all had to stay in and we couldn't go out and shoot and stuff. It's like a prison bars, and the mask. It was quite. It represented quite a lot at the time for the lockdown.
Yeah. Did you find in lockdown that you were kind of reviewing old images and seeing, like as you described there, seeing new things in them and kind of new value?
Yeah, I found because. I think a lot of people have. You look for all your archives, don't you? Because you end up being sick of reposting your old images, and you end up looking for all your archives. So like I went to Tokyo, and I was going to spend. I've only been there once, and I went there. My trip was booked for 5 days. I ended up staying for 11 weeks. So we were traveling at the time, and I thought I can't leave this place, and. So we booked a few weeks in Tokyo, and then it was just, there's so much to shoot there, and especially if you've got friends that live there. I've got some good friends that live there, and they were showing me around areas and stuff, and even shooting, down at the train stations, and everybody's wearing suits, aren't they? So when they come out of Shibuya Station, and I've seen some amazing shots of you at Shibuya State outside Shibuya Crossing. What an amazing place to shoot. You could go there every day for a month and get something different at Royal Crossing, couldn't you?
Yeah. And like I think that they have strict photography laws there, but I have found the people to be really responsive, and never a problem when you're doing street photography there. But it's just, I think there's always something intriguing, that on a street scene, or like in the architecture as well as impressive. And as you say, that I think both of us are met like photographers that we know there, like Lawrence. It's great to have them who bring you around to show you the locations, and he's very, very generous in sharing them as well, because like some photographers would kind of hide their favorite locations for photographs, but Lawrence is fantastic that way.
Yeah, what a great guy he is.
Yeah. So excellent, Mark. Like, I have really, really enjoyed hearing about your process, learning your approach to street photography, and I think definitely what comes across is two things: your passion and the high level of artistry that you bring to it. And that your workshops, I think anybody who wants to learn and to get the opportunity to get shots to be proud of, tell us about your workshops.
Okay, so I do one-to-one workshops, and I do my group workshops in London. I've had to had a lot of workshops recently cancelled overseas. So I did have one in Istanbul and one in Lisbon and one in Berlin, but they've all been cancelled just due to the COVID and stuff. But I think my next available workshop is September the 25th, and I'm going to put another one up in the next few days on October the 30th. But yeah.
And like, are these a day workshop? How many hours would somebody be with you?
So the workshops start around 10:15 a.m. and then they work up until about 3:30. But after 3:30, I find a lot of people have taken in so much information. There's only so much you can sort of like take in before you head burst and stuff. So my workshops are all based around in like enhancing your composition skills and thinking creative.
And as well, that you were saying to me that you find that people will come with high-end Leicas and other people with smartphones, that it's everybody.
My workshop, they don't base around gear. I know a lot of people, and I see so much of it, and I get so much of it on my Instagram. I get on a daily basis probably 5 or 10 people every day asking me what gear do you use, what camera you use, what lens do you use. But on my workshops, it's not about gear. It's about seeing. So I'd have a guy approach me, and he'll have a £5,000 Leica around his neck with a £5,000 lens. So he's got 10 grand hanging like a medallion around his neck. But and then he can't wait to tell me how much his camera costs. So then standing next to him will be a 17-year-old girl with an iPhone 6. And 2 hours into the workshop, the girl with the iPhone 6 is composing images so much better and getting better images than the guy with the Leica. So gear doesn't really mean anything, does it? I don't.
Yeah, I know. I
don't do gear. Gear doesn't mean anything to me. It's just seeing. It's just seeing.
100% agree with you. 100%. That photography is not about cameras. Definitely not about cameras.
Exactly.
Mark, that was absolutely fantastic. I'm sure those who've been watching us have enjoyed it as well. I'll stop sharing here. We'll come back to some Q&A. But thanks so much, Mark. That was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks. Brendan, and you, Glenn. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to echo that, man. That was phenomenal. I wanted to butt in so many times and comment, but it's like, I know, I'll just stick with the comments. It's all good back here. But we've had a ton of questions.
Yeah, cheers, and thanks so much for having me as a judge. On the Mobiography Awards. That means so much to me, because 8 or 9 years ago, when I was solely on my camera, just shooting always on my camera phone, I remember Andy, who's not here now. He did a spread on me in the Mobiography.net magazine, and that was a great honour to me when I started off. And wow, I've got some work published in this magazine. It meant so much to me. And you, Brendan, and I mean Brendan O'Shea, what a massive inspiration you've been to me on my journey and my photography. You have been you were there at the beginning, and I have to tell you this. I told you I was going to say this to you, and right from the beginning, probably 2000. How long do you think we go back? 2011, 2012, or before that?
I was on Flickr from 2007, so I think probably 9, 10. I think at 9 I got really into Flickr. So, we go back a long way, Mark. We go back a long way.
Brendan O'Shea is the reason why to everybody here is the reason why everybody needs to be inspired. This man here inspired me right from the beginning. That picture behind him was my biggest inspiration. Now, I'm gonna say you shot that on an iPhone 3S. Am I correct here or not? What do you reckon?
No, that
Yeah.
one was a Nikon. That was the Nikon. But I've other ones that I did with the iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brendan done a series on these moonhead people. And that's what inspired me right from the beginning of my photography. It was like, oh my God, the creativity, his approach. Yeah. So I'm thankful to you, my man.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. And you're a huge inspiration and have always been to me, and a great friend as well. I appreciate it very much. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, man.
All right, guys, we better take a couple of questions because there's a whole queue of them here and people kind of scratching for answers. So I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way back through the list. There's quite a lot of engagement. So Linda asked that question. You may have touched on it, and perhaps it is Snapseed, I don't know, but do you use any specific apps for converting to black and white?
I mostly use Lightroom, but yeah, I think I use like Lightroom mobile now on my phone, so I can Wi-Fi the image straight to my phone, convert it, and I can have it posted within a few minutes. So I do. That's sort of. But most of the time I just use Lightroom, but I do use Snapseed as well.
Okay, very good, great. Another question here. I can't even pronounce the name, so I'm not going to attempt it. But what do you think about removing unneeded objects, like people, for instance, from your scene to keep it simple? Is that acceptable to you? So like touch, retouch type vibe?
Yeah, I mean, I have done it as well before. Now I've taken things out, but I mean, I could have took that lamppost out the back of that guy's back and just said it was never there. But most of the time. Unless it's really distracting on an image. But it's like I said earlier on, if you're honest about your photography, then it's when you become more dishonest and and it's stage shots and stuff like that. But I've got no problem with it, and I have done it.
Okay, very good. Another one here. Do you use lots of bursts?
Yes, on my Fuji, I do use burst. I don't normally on my phone. But on my Fuji systems, yeah, I use burst mode to get the shot. I think if your camera has it, then why don't you use it? I mean, on my workshops, I do get people that film photographers, and they're so slowed down. And what I love about film photographers is they've still got to get that shot, but they haven't got the burst mode. They can't look at their images, so it slows you right down. But if your camera's got it, why not use it?
Okay, very good. Another one here. How do you ensure there is a storytelling element in your photographs?
No, that's a tough one. Do you know? I think every image has got a story. It just depends how deep the story goes. So whether it's wine glasses and an ice bucket on a thing, which gives a narrative, and you looking at it straight on, or whether it's I think every picture's got. I mean, I don't really go. Some people say a guy walking out of Sainsbury's with a Sainsbury's bag. There's a story there, Mark. Yeah, he's just done his fucking shopping. Yeah, he's just walked out of Sainsbury's. But whether it's an interesting or a story where you're going to say to yourself, do you know what? He's just been in Sainsbury's. We all go in Sainsbury's. But it is good to have a narrative on your image.
Yeah, but moments I think count as well. Sometimes it doesn't need to be too deep. Just that moment with the seagull. There's a whole story now. It was just a moment. There was a couple of questions in relation to the camera that you use separate to your iPhone. So you mentioned it. Is it a Fuji you said you use?
Yeah. So, I've actually got 5 Fuji cameras. So not blowing anything, but so they're all different really. So I've still got my old Fuji X100S. I don't tend to get rid of my cameras. I just keep them until they fall apart. Right up to bought a camera a few weeks ago, a Fuji XE4. Which has now got the flip out screen. But the thing with the Fuji cameras, they're not really expensive. It's the glass that's expensive. I mean, any Fuji camera you can get up to, 1,000, 1,500 pounds, but it's the lenses that make where you have to spend your money really.
Yeah, there's actually more questions coming in as I'm actually going through the list up this direction, some down the bottom. I will try and skim down to those in a second. Just get a few more of the early ones. How much time would you typically spend editing or creating your images? How much time in post would you typically spend?
I'd probably say minimum a couple of minutes, maximum probably 10, 15 minutes. For me, I'll keep it quite simple. So if I convert it into black and white and into Lightroom, I'll increase the shadows, drop the highlights, and maybe just bit of cropping, straightening, stuff like that. It's normally just messing around with everything. Really, it's just like a matter of minutes. I don't spend hours because I'm not. It's just. I'll tell you what. A tool I use a lot on my images is I like the what's it called? It's the bar that goes across where you can darken the image. What's it called?
Curve?
Not the curve. No, it's a
Highlight histogram. The histogram, is it? Where you can change the black point on the histogram, is it? No.
Yeah. Is it that? No. It's the tool where you can just drag a line. Yeah, and bring out the and make the area darker. I tend to use that a lot. So if I've got something distracting on the left-hand side of my image, I'll bring the bar across and then decrease the brightness and make it a bit darker in that area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a couple more quick ones. Do you shoot? This is with your iPhone photography. Do you use the native camera, or do you have any other camera apps that you use?
I use a native camera. Yeah, I just shoot through the lens camera. Yeah, no.
Okay, this is a good one because this kind of came up in conversation just before we went live about, do you sometimes get into a conversation with pedestrians when they notice you taking a photograph, and have there been any conflicts? Do you want to regale us of the story of the little video clip? Or am I telling tales out of school now? I shouldn't have said anything. Sorry if I did. Oops. You don't.
There's one time where I was on top of Blackfriars Bridge, and there's a grid system on top of Blackfriars Bridge, and I put the camera onto this grid. I was laying with my camera, laying on the grid with people walking past me. And I remember these two teenage lads walked past me, and they went, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm taking a photo, and they went, What do you mean? And so I stood up and I showed them the photo, and they're like, "Fucking hell!" And the next thing you know, they were both laying on the grid either side of me, and there was three of us in the line. And from that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes you have to look to get the best shots. You have to be in the most ridiculous places or areas. You know, it's like, Brendan, to get a good shot. If you put your camera in the corner of a room or something, you get a completely different perspective right down low.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, I'm just going to do one or two more. Right? What do you say to photographers who get very hung up on the technical side?
On my workshops, I don't do technical, so I tell everybody to set their cameras up as simple as they can. So the thing is, the street photography is just moments. So many people say to me, "Oh, what does your histogram say? Do you look at your histogram? Look at my histogram when I'm out on the streets. Who the hell looks at their histogram?" It's just. The only thing I use is my exposure compensation dial, so I might bring the image down, because I always shoot one or two stops under, so that I can bring it all up in Lightroom. So I always think it's best if you shoot underexposed, you can bring everything up in your details and that, and your shadows and stuff. But so I just, on my workshops, I say, right, it's up to everybody how they take their images. Some people say to me, "Oh, do you know, I only shoot in manual, Mark." And then 3 hours into the workshop, they're not getting any shots, because by the time they're fucking around with the dials and they're discreet, they're messing around with their eye. So a guy with a bowler hat's walking past, a senior on a shadow of the wall, and he's got a cane, and the guy's messing around with his ISO. The guy's 50 yards away before he's ready to get his shot. So set your camera up as simple as you can. Automatic ISO, automatic, focus, everything auto, because you just want to raise that camera and then. On my workshops, I say, as long as you can set your cameras up wherever you want, but as long as you can raise that camera to your eye and take that shot when I go, right, there's a shot there now, in 2 seconds. So don't start messing around with all this and that. It doesn't mean anything. It's just got to be quick. That's why the iPhone is good, isn't it, Brendan? The iPhone is instant.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Okay, there's 3 or 4 more coming in. I'm just going to take one more. We'll take this one from Anna. It's just a recommendation. Any recommend good bridge camera? Something to span beyond her smartphone, I guess.
Was a good bridge camera?
Yeah, no, not for taking pictures of bridges. Now, just something to get her started that she can zoom in on wildlife that isn't her iPhone. So, if an introductory DSLR or mirrorless camera, is there any recommendations? I'm going to take a wild guess. It'll be a Fuji something. No.
Yeah, I'd say Fuji, and I'm not sponsored by Fuji here. Yeah.
Yeah, me
Fuji,
neither.
I'm not pushing Fuji at all. But buy yourself a Fuji. I used to have a Nikon. I used to have a Canon. But I just find I don't know what the new ones are like, but the old ones I used to have, Nikon D800, and I used to have a Nikon D1007 100, like you got, Brendan. And I used to have an 18 to 20, and it was so invasive. It was like paparazzi. It was like, but if you want to be discreet in your approach, and you want to be and you want to be a bit more, not so obvious, as well as they say, invisible. You want to be a bit more visible on the street. Then the Fuji cameras are really small. They're not pocket sized, but the Ricoh GR3 is a good pocket camera, which I've got, which I keep in my pocket all the time. Which they say the best camera you got is the one that's on you. So that's in my pocket all the time. So Fuji Ricoh is a good. But Fuji, if you do want to sponsor me, I'm here.
If anyone from Fuji is watching, please do get in touch. We're still looking for sponsors. And on that bombshell, there's loads of compliments coming in. I've popped some up while you were actually talking, Mark. You may not have seen them, but tons of people basically saying stuff like superb work, incredible work. Thanks so much for sharing. Really inspirational. Thank you. Excellent stuff. I could keep going, but you get the gist. Fantastic. There's still more questions. If you do want, after we finish the live, Mark, if you want to dive into the chat when the show goes available for playback, you can still comment. So if you do want, if you're inclined, you can always answer some more of those questions that I didn't get to. And I apologize if any have been waiting in the long grass for an entire hour at this stage for an answer and I didn't get to you. That's entirely my bad. But anyway, we still have a few little pieces of housekeeping to do. Brendan, any final words before we dip onto the one or two other things I need to mention?
Final words, you can't jump this on me now. Is there something that I should have at this stage? Because I can't think.
No, you can just say thanks to Mark and we'll move on. It's all good. Okay. Okay. During the 2 weeks since the last show with Renzo Grande, who I'll talk about in a second, we did post some photographs basically on the Mobiography channel. Like I said, Andy is off, so he normally does this bit, and so I got to figure out if I can do this. It should be okay. Fingers crossed. And I just want to pop a couple of those images up just for comments, if everyone is happy to have a wee look. Yes. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's just do that. Oh, that's the 24-hour project. That wasn't what I was supposed to go to. It was that one. Yeah. So the images that were shared during the week are these ones. And this time we have actually tagged the authors or the photographers that created them. And I'm just going to do a quick whip because I'm conscious of time. We have gone over the hour. So I'll just do a quick pass through. If any of you want to comment on any of these images, are there any particular ones that really grab you by the proverbials and why?
I think this one is just beautiful. I love the use of the light to illuminate the subject. Very, very clever.
Very clever. Beautiful. Shout out to Michael Chiara. I probably pronounced that wrong. Apologize for butchering your name there, Michael, but it is an absolutely stunning shot. And this one is Jeff Slade. I'll do name check on everyone. Exploring Hypsomatic, Joe Legrand 61, and Ilamusi. Well, those are just a selection of some of the images that are coming into the competition. And remember, that's why we're here. So the Mobiography Awards are still accepting entries. The deadline for submissions is the 20th of August. So the deadline is not too far away now. We still have a few more live shows to go. So, we're always interested to hear your feedback on that. I did want to do a name check on Renzo as well, though, to be fair. I'm just going to stop sharing this temporarily just for a moment because I had a boo-boo with this earlier on. But we'll try again. So if I go here and if I go 24-hour project. So the previous show, we interviewed another one of our judges, Renzo Grande, and he is literally out on the street as we speak today with the 24-hour project. And I think it's important to probably do a quick name check on him. So if you are on Instagram, and I'm presuming you're all photographers, so you probably are, do please check out the hashtag 24-hour project because it's on as we speak right now. It's live all over the world, and there are people posting their images from all over the world, basically a moment in the human condition, if you will, under the hashtag 24-hour project. And the images are absolutely stunning. It would be great to show them a little bit of support if you get the chance. But yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. And do have a look at some of those images. Like I've been kind of perusing it now for the last 5-6 hours. It's been running, I think, since late last night. And some of the images are absolutely amazing. Like it really is just a snapshot of the human condition. What an amazing project. So good luck to him on that one. I need to take the last of the comments down. I just realized I kind of lost control of the app entirely, which is really useful. Can I even find that one? Thanks so much. This one, no. Where's it gone? More comments, loads. Great. Okay, can't even find that one to take it off. So it's probably going to now just sit on screen for the next while. Apologies. Right. So the other thing I just want to do is I just want to do a quick shout out temporarily to our sponsors, because to be fair, they're a huge part of why we're here and how we can afford the actual prize money and everything. So we have a new sponsor this week. Do you want to name check them, Brendan?
So delighted to have on board one of the best editing apps that's out there, Darkroom. And on, I think it's August the 7th, is it, Glenn? I might be wrong on the dates, but it's a Saturday in August. I think it's the week before the competition closes. I'll be doing a live session on using Darkroom as an editing app, how to enhance our images, how to make a good image better with Darkroom. And Darkroom is an absolutely powerful app for photos and video editing, and available on iOS and Google Play Store.
Very good. And the other thing, just to also give a shout out to, is Luma Touch, the makers of LumaFusion, probably the best editing app on iOS, I would say, by far. So as of 2 days ago, I can confirm that Terry Morgan, who's the CEO of the company, will actually be in a live demo of LumaFusion to show photographers how to actually use the app and how to create multimedia content and mix audio and all sorts of fantastic stuff. And I can also say, even though I'm probably not supposed to, that they will have just launched the new version of the app at that stage, version 3, and there's some amazing new features in there. So you're going to get a sneak peek before it officially goes public on that live show. So do please circle back to us. We really appreciate you spending the hour with us. Hope you found it useful and, have some really, really good takeaways from it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anyone else I'm supposed to name check. So parting words or thoughts from either of you gents? Brendan, go first.
Just again to thank Mark. It was an absolute tour de force in what photography can be. And thank you, Glenn, and thanks to Andy, who's out there. And that, brilliant.
Okay, guys, it's been fun, and I've learned a lot, as I have over the last couple of weeks as well. Really, really appreciate it. And again, to everyone who has tuned in, we've had over 140 viewers concurrently on YouTube, which is phenomenal. And please do, if you have comments, suggestions, anything at all that you want to throw at us to basically consider for future shows or other ideas, there's loads of different ways to get in contact. Obviously, you can connect with Andy through the Mobiography channels on Twitter, on Facebook, on obviously on Instagram, and on the YouTube channel. And by the way, there is an entire group on Facebook all around the Mobiography topic that is well worth checking out as well. Okay, so we're 1 hour and 7 minutes in. We just barely went over the 1 hour, but it's all good, and I think it's been absolutely worthwhile. I think it's been phenomenal, and like I said, I've learned a ton. So Mark, sincerely, thanks a million for sharing. And I'm just going to... If this gets bleeped by YouTube, because we all use the F words, I apologize in advance, but come to Ireland. We talk like that normally all the time. So that's just the way it is. Anyway, until the next one, thanks a million and bye-bye for now.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Great stuff.